Okay. This is July the 14th, 13th, 15th, 16th, July the 16th, 2013. We are talking with Aunt Annie Mae Perkins and Belle Finley, Belle Gunderson Finley, right? That's how it went. Both are soon be 92.
Yeah.
Soon be 92.
Next month.
Next month. Got a list of questions here, and these are going to bring up some thoughts and ideas, and just share them along as you want to go. So, Aunt Annie Mae's full name is Annie Mae Jones
Perkins.
Mm-hmm. And Grandma Belle is Belle Gunderson Finley. Okay. Why did your parents name you those names? Was they?
Well, Daddy was Harvard Lewis, and I don't know where he got that Sam from, but everybody called him Sam, but his mama called him Harvey.
Mm-hmm. So how'd they come up with your name? Your name is sort of
Well,
different.
Daddy called me Major.
Major.
Yeah.
Okay.
But nobody else ever did, and when he died, that was it.
So your name on your certificate was Annie Mae.
Yeah.
But where did they come from for Annie Mae? You named after somebody else, or they just thought that was a good name?
Well, Mama's mama was named Anna,
Okay.
and he had a sister named Annie Lee, I believe.
Okay. So you came from that combination.
I think so.
And how did Belle come about?
Well, I was named after my mama's aunt. Her name was Belle Winkler, and that's where I got my name.
Okay. Did you have a nickname?
She said.
Yours was Major,
Yeah.
and did you have a nickname?
Well, my aunt made me up a new name one time when I was visiting her. She said, "You've got to have another name," and she says, "How about Lucille?" Now, I was a little girl, about 12 or 13 years old at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been there staying with her for a few days. And she said, "Do you like that name?" And of course, I didn't care.
It didn't matter.
It didn't matter. Never thought of it before. So I took that name, and all the family laughed, and up and through my high school days, I signed my name, Belle Lucille, on my papers and everything.
Okay.
And one day, my son said to me, "I didn't know you had a second name." And I said, "I haven't." And he said, "Yeah, you have. It's Lucille."
It was on her important papers.
Okay. Didn't know that. All right. When and where were you born?
I was born 2 miles this side of Climax, there, side of the railroad. And there was a road that went from Climax part of the way to Wiggum. And we had a neighbor that lived not too far on that side of us. And just on the other side of her was the creek. And there was an old broke down bridge, and so nobody could go down that road no further. Except for whenever we would go on the buggy, and Daddy would get out, and the bridge was one corner of it was down in the water, and he'd lead the horse across the bridge and go on down the road and cut across the Patterson place through the woods and get over there to that other road that goes from Wiggum to Climax.
Now that's the Phillips Road now.
I don't know.
I think that's what they call it now, the Phillips Road.
Anyway, that's the way we went to Grandpa's house.
So was you born at the house?
Oh, I was born in the old sawmill house.
Sawmill house.
What I've been told, Daddy had gone down to the home place to get a tractor to make sorghum syrup. And he had a colored fella working with him, a young fella. And he was around the house there, and Mama went in labor. And she called him, well, the old house had all it had was shutters to close windows. It didn't have no screens or anything. So she called him to the window and told him to go get the doctor from Climax, Dr. Davis, and go down to Miss Cox's and tell her to come up to the house. So, in the meantime, I was being born.
And she didn't have anybody there to help her.
No, well, the doctor.
Oh, he did come.
Yeah, the doctor come. But when Daddy come up to the gate, he hollered, "Mame, come open the gate."
She's good, huh?
and Miss Cox had something to say to him. I can't remember just what she said, but anyway, he said, "Get out and open the gate yourself."
All right. Well, now, what was your story?
What was the question?
Where were you
When
born?
and where
Oh.
were you born?
I was born in August the 5th, 1921, in a little mining town called Clear Creek, because there was a creek running around by our house. And so that's where I was born,
In Utah.
In Utah.
in Utah.
In Utah.
In Utah.
Okay.
And that's why.
How did your family come to live there? I mean, why was they there?
Well, my dad worked for a mining company, and he he had a wagon that he went around and picked up parts and stuff that the mine needed, and he went by wagon, to get to the store to get it, or wherever we had to go, and he delivered it. That's what he did.
And
Yeah.
and May, how did y'all get settled over there in Climax?
Well, Daddy was in service,
Mhm.
and when the war was over, he was fixing to have to go overseas, but he didn't have to. And then when they dismissed him from service, he come back home, and his two brothers. Well, Uncle Henry was the one that was farming, and Willie got married, and he didn't have a place to go. They told him, well, his mama, the parents had given her a piece of land up there, give all the children one.
Mhm.
And so that was her piece, and they says, well, you can go up there and live.
Okay.
So he went to his mama's to live.
It was his mama's. They had a sawmill there.
Uh-huh.
And so that's where, when I was 3 years old, they was built the house that was there.
Now, did the sawmill run off of electricity or what power?
No, there wasn't no electricity.
A steam engine or?
I guess so. But they didn't run it. They had already moved away from that because
Okay.
Uncle Henry's family lived where
Randall?
Randall lives now.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Aunt Matt's portion of the land.
Okay.
And
All right.
so-
Where were there other family members who stayed in your area? Which we know yours did. Everybody kind of stayed.
They wasn't right around us. We didn't have, no, they all lived around Wiggle.
Yeah, well, not too far away.
Mm-hmm.
And how about Belle? Did your brothers and sisters stay in the same area?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you didn't get scattered.
We lived together, and when we left Clear Creek by train to a little town in what was called Carbonville, Utah, or Huntington, Utah. It was a farming area, and the miners would work in the wintertime and the summertime. They'd take care of their crops.
Mm-hmm.
And we all stayed together.
Your grandparents were there too.
And yes, my grandma and grandpa MacDonald was there, and we moved it in a little cabin house next to them. And till I went to school, 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to school and rode 3 miles
Yeah.
to the schoolhouse.
You rode?
I rode in the bus, went on the bus.
Hmm.
The
And,
bus came or a buggy?
No.
You had a bus?
We had a bus that we got on that went to put us up to school.
I didn't know that.
And all the children in this little community met at the church house in the morning for school, to get ready to go to school.
Hmm.
Well, we didn't have we had to walk to school, and the schoolhouse was on the other end of town.
Yeah, where it is now?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
You
But when I
climbed it?
was
Climax.
in the 3rd grade, that school burned. When it was a big old 2-story school,
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
and then we had to go to school in places there in town, garages or somewhere.
Was it a one-room schoolhouse?
No, it was a big old 2-story schoolhouse.
But did you have all the grades together? Were
Yeah.
all your grades together?
Mm-hmm.
Were all your grades together, Mom?
No, they were separated in
How
one.
many
one
teachers? Yeah,
But one
teachers.
room, there were.
Room. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And yeah.
How many teachers did you have?
Just one to a class,
Mhm.
Yeah.
one to a room.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Okay.
thought maybe, one teacher taught,
Two
you
or
do
three.
this work and then I'll help you in a minute.
Yeah.
No.
One
Each
teacher.
each room had their own teacher.
Okay.
While we're talking about houses, what was your house like when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, well, until I was 3 years old, we lived in that old sawmill house. You could see through the cracks in the floor.
Yeah.
But then they got the house built.
And,
Right when Lewis got it finished, when Lewis
How
was
many
baby.
rooms was in that sawmill house?
I don't know. I couldn't count.
Well, they was room for y'all to stay there.
But when you,
wasn't cramped up.
but your original house, the house that you lived in, Grandma had,
Yeah.
that was your original house. That had, did they enclose that front porch as a room?
They later in years they did, but they was 2 big bedrooms, but later on they turned the dining room into a bedroom.
Mhm.
Mm.
How about your house? How many rooms was in it?
3
3 rooms.
rooms for 7 kids.
The mom and daddy and the girls in one room and the boys in another.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the way it was. And my twin sisters and I slept together. And I never used a pillow. I slept in the middle, so I didn't use a pillow. And so the rest of my life, I've
never
still
used a pillow.
never used a pillow to put my head on to go to bed.
That's how come your back's so straight.
Yeah.
Was they a bathroom?
We
No,
had
we had
an
outside.
outhouse. And it's,
You did too. I wouldn't say nothing.
And it was scary, when you had to go you at night, so we used to have what we called what in the heck was the name of that? The pot jar.
Yeah. Slop jar.
Slop jar.
Yeah,
Slop
yeah,
jar.
that's what we
I
used
can
at night.
see it today. It was about that high and it was white.
Yeah, I've got one in the garage.
In case you need it.
I'll bring it into the house.
It was very crowded and then my two brothers slept together, and but it was really
Cozy.
something else, and all we knew. That was all we knew.
Yeah.
So we took it for granted.
We was fine.
Did you have electricity?
We didn't have electricity until I was about, I guess 8 or 9 years old. And the first electricity was at our neighbor's home. It was a little ways away. And when they got electricity, all the rest of the people in town went to see in the house, and she turned the lights on. It had a light bulb hanging from the ceiling. And everybody was so happy they couldn't wait until they could get a
When did you get electricity at Annie Mae?
We didn't have electricity. Even when we moved down here, we didn't have electricity.
You didn't.
Somebody across the way would not let the power line come to Mama and Daddy's house. So they didn't get it till later on.
Wow.
That's the way it was in my town.
So did you use? Then you used lanterns
Yeah,
and
lamps.
wood stove.
Yeah, oh yeah.
coil oil lamps.
How about when did indoor plumbing come? Didn't have to go to the well.
We didn't have indoor plumbing when I was growing up.
We didn't either.
Went to the well with the bucket and came back in the kitchen.
Had
Well,
a well.
there was
We
a
had a
well.
well. We'd draw water.
Yeah, we went to the well for our water.
How about telephone?
Didn't have a phone
We
ever.
didn't have-
It seemed like ours come in the 50s. Neighbors had phones, but we.
It was party lines then too. There was a lot of people on one line.
Yeah, we had one when we was in the old house. You'd ring it, and the Wrights had it up here in Whigham.
Mm-hmm.
And if you talk a while and you talk longer than she wanted you to, she says, "Waiting, waiting, waiting."
And cut you off.
Oh, we had before Kathy was born, we had about, maybe there might have been 3 or 4 people in town that had a phone, and we got one. It was you put it on the wall, and it was a crank type.
Yeah.
And when I used to have to deliver messages once in a while, if somebody would call, and so I'd take the message, whoever, and I'd say, yeah, I'll go and I'll do that, and I remember that.
Hello, this is Central.
And all of the what they called the big folks, big guys, had all the luxuries. They were the first ones to get them. And my husband had a good job, a warehouseman. He took care of all of the equipment that the mines needed. So that's why we got a phone.
Was anything special in your house that you remember the most?
We had an organ. An elderly man lived with his family across the road, and all the kids were gone, and this organ just sat there. And one day this old man came over and asked Mama if she would like that organ, and she could have it because no one used it. And she was so happy because she played the organ. So they brought it over, and we were all glad. But all of us tried to play it.
It's very,
That was a big
very
thing.
familiar, isn't it?
We had an organ too.
I remember y'all's.
You had a pump organ.
Yeah, but I did love to hear it. It had the best music to it.
I remember Grandma playing that organ.
That's
So-
a lot of my pastime.
Was there anything special other than that, Annie Mae? That you liked, especially at your house? Something that you liked a lot?
Well, at night, in the cold winter time, we had a fire going in the fireplace, and we'd all sit around the fireplace till we got ready to go to bed.
Yeah.
And we had to go to bed. Well, we had to light a lamp to see how to go to bed.
Uh-huh.
What's your earliest childhood memory? What's the earliest you can remember?
Well, I remember that, well, Mama said I was 3 years old, but I can remember what I was doing. I was on tiptoe trying to reach the doorknob, and I couldn't open it. And that's all there was to it. I can just remember trying to open that door, and I couldn't get in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember climbing over some of the lumber when they was putting up the ceiling in the house, climbing over some of that when I was 3 years old. See?
Uh-huh.
And somehow or other, I was trying to peel cane one day, and I split my finger.
Oh.
So I've had a split.
had
So you've had a split finger all those years?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. Can you describe the personalities of your family members? Was your brothers and sisters good to you? They beat you up, or what was some of the personalities of your family?
Well, my oldest sister, she was always laughing and making fun for everybody. Everybody loved my sister Helen. And my sister Dora was kind of precise. She was like that. She got her feelings hurt a lot. She'd cry. And my twin sisters, they had wonderful personalities, and they were, they liked to get out and have fun, and my brother Jack was very quiet and very intelligent, and
But Mama was his favorite.
we had a good relationship, my brother and I, oldest brother. But with my baby brother, we did too. We all got along. And if we fussed with each other and something, Mama said, "You kids be quiet, or the gypsies will come." And we were scared to death of the gypsies, because they were a bunch of people that go from town to town, and they tried to steal things.
And there was a lot of gypsies.
The main thing they liked to steal was
And would
the
they have a
horses.
string of horses?
Yeah, they liked to steal the horses. So when she said that, why, we settled down.
And Annie Mae, what can you remember?
Well,
You had a lot of them to remember.
yeah. Well, Harold used to drag me everywhere.
Yeah.
He started dragging me off of the bed when before I started walking, so I could play with him. And so wherever he went, I went.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever, then Lewis, 3 years later, Lewis was born, and then Margaret. And I was glad to have a sister.
Were you especially close to any of them?
Uh,
Especially close to any of them? Were you real close to any of them?
Margaret was the closest, yeah, besides Harold.
Uh-huh.
Now, when I started to school, Daddy went up to see the principal to see if I could go to school, start to school when he did, because he was going to have to walk to school by himself, except for our neighbor down the Cox's. But his children was all grown and in high school, and so it was just us, and so he let me start to school with him, and so we went on to school together, and I remember some of the times that it'd be raining and we'd get wet going to school. Well, he'd be standing out, the principal would be standing out the front door, and when we got there, he'd get us in his car and bring us home to get some dry clothes.
He could have saved you the trip, couldn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, so what was your favorite games you liked to play when you was growing up?
Oh, we would like to play ball.
Y'all
Down to
play-
the house and play with the dirt in the dirt.
Yeah.
Y'all play basketball though. Did you play basketball too?
The last year I played basketball, and the year before I played softball. We had a game in Bainbridge of softball, and I played out in the field, and somebody on the other side knocked the ball, and I didn't have a glove, so I caught it in my hand. It bounced out, but I caught it.
Caught it again?
Everybody just hollered.
So what was your favorite games?
Oh, we like to play Run Sheep Run. You had a map. With your finger you draw in the dirt, and if it was like a tree here or a house there or something, someplace where we'd all get together, and then when the head of the game would say, or start the game, he'd say, "Run, sheep, run." So we'd scatter all over.
And then somebody had to come find us.
And then we had to come back to the spot where the game started, and we did that, and we played dominoes. I can remember that for hours. We played dominoes, and
Jacks.